Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching the Question Hour show from the Parliament House complex, the show where we bring all the important unstarred questions asked by the members of the upper house and the response given by the government in written format. I'm Kriti Mishra and joining me is my colleague Rajat King.
Thanks Kriti, and thanks to our viewers for watching and joining us on Sansad TV in our episode of Question Hour. Well, Question Hour is an essential tool of parliamentary democracy whereby a member of the parliament gets to question the government on the policy and of course the work they do for public good.
There are different types of questions as well, the start questions, the unstarred ones and also the short notice ones. Well, start questions are those questions of which response is given orally on the floor of the House and the members can also ask supplementaries from the concerned minister. Whereas the unstarred questions are those questions of which the answer is also given in the written format. And Rajat, our show focuses on all the important unstarred questions asked by the members of the upper house during the ongoing 253rd session of the Rajya Sabha.
Right. But how these questions are asked and how these questions are ultimately answered, here is a small presentation for our viewers. A member submits his or her questions at least 15 days before the office of Rajya Sabha chairman. The Rajya Sabha Secretariat chooses the questions to be answered through a draw of ballots. Separate ballots are held for starred and unstarred questions. The questions are scrutinized for admissibility under the current rules and precedents. Questions are disallowed if they are not in order. Advance copies of chosen questions are sent to ministry or departments concerned. The ministry concerns collect information to prepare the reply. The minister concerned reply to starred questions on the floor of the House and provides written answers to unstarred questions. Up to 160 unstarred questions are listed every day in a separate list. Well, that's it. There you saw how these questions are asked. So, Kriti, it's time to begin the show. Well, the first question of this edition of the show that was asked by members L. Hanumantaya, Rajmani Patel, Fulo Devi Netam and Said Nasir Hussain. The member asked whether the government has estimated the impact of rejecting Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership on India's GDP.
While Government of India decided against joining the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership to protect the interest of indigenous industry. And there's a detailed response given by MOS Commerce and Industry Hardeep Singh Puri. He goes on to say that the government held extensive consultations with the stakeholders such as the domestic industry, exporters, export promotion councils, trade experts, various ministries, departments, academicians, etc. and received inputs which were taken into consideration while formulating India's position in the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership negotiations. Accordingly, during the third RCEP Leaders Summit held on 4th of November 2019 in Bangkok, India made it clear that the current structure of RCEP did not reflect the RCEP guiding principles or address the outstanding issues and concerns of India, in the light of which India did not join consensus. India's position in RCEP was formulated to achieve equitable outcomes, balanced ambitions and addressing domestic sensitivities of its stakeholders, including small entrepreneurs. Further, India had also expressed its stated position that the Act East policy was the bedrock of India's economic policy and India's engagement with ASEAN countries and other trading partners would continue. So that was the detailed response of Government of India on Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Moving on to the next question, and this one is by member Dr. Fawzia Khan, and the question is to the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. And the member has inquired about schemes and programs for promoting sports among women.
Reply to this query was given by Minister of State for Sports and Youth Affairs, Kiran Rijiju. In the reply, it says the ministry is running various schemes for promotion of sports culture as well as attaining excellence in sports across the country. Among the schemes, Khelo India scheme, assistance to National Sports Federation, special awards to winners in international sports events and their coaches, National Sports Awards, pension to meritorious sports persons. National Sports Development Fund and Sports Training Centre run through Sports Authority of India. The ministry is also promoting rural and indigenous or tribal games under Khelo India scheme and through Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat program. The above schemes are gender neutral and cater to both male and female sports person and take care of development of sports amongst women. Further, one vertical of Khelo India scheme, namely Sports for Women, caters specifically to promote sports amongst women. Details of these schemes are available in public domain on the website of the Ministry of Sports. Details of funds allocated for the Ministry for various schemes and programs for development of sports in the country, including encouragement of women in sports during last 5 years and the current year, is also provided in the annexure to the reply. State-wise details of women beneficiary under the Khelo India scheme and sports promotional schemes of the Sports Authority of India are also annexed. The support is being provided in the form of international standard sports infrastructure facilities, sports science backup, expert coaches and financial support to the athletes. Once the pandemic situation improves, it's being contemplated to start more leagues in the line of Under-17 Khelo India Girls Football League.
And joining us on the Question Hour show is Rajya Sabha MP Dr. Fauzia Khan. Ma'am, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Ma'am, during the 253rd session, you'd asked a very important question about women and development of sports for women in India. Now the government has given a comprehensive reply. What is your take?
I feel not only the government's response, but overall, if we consider sports as an area, I feel in our nation itself we are more lethargic towards it. So obviously the government's response also has to be that way. Because I don't see that focus, that keen interest which should be taken in this area, considering our previous records of what we have been performing in the Olympics. However, for the last Olympics, I find that women have outshone men and they have proved that they have got special mettle in them. So these women who have brought glory to the country, I think now it's time that we focus on them, because when women and sports, if we talk about it, there are lots of issues globally also. For example, they don't receive that much media attention, they are not paid as much as men, and there are several issues like they have to face challenges when they have to come into sports, challenges of their training, challenges of their work, balancing domestic work, and if they have a job, like will they be able to get a flexibility that the other sex, other gender has when it comes to flexibility in jobs. So this kind of challenge that a woman faces becomes a kind of obstacle. And I feel when women are performing better, why not? They should be considered and they should be given more privileges, gender-specific privileges. Like for example, I will tell you one experience I myself have seen. When in Maharashtra we have this political wing called Yuvati. It's like the female youth have got a separate wing in the NCP party. And with this wing, we had a lot of meetings all across the state. We had with these young girls. And Ms. Supriya Sule, who is also a Lok Sabha member, she would be taking this interaction. And whenever during this interaction, the girls of different places, they were asked what their problems are. Inevitably, there would be questions, there would be concerns raised on availability of playgrounds for girls. Like we would want to play, but we don't have a chance because all the playgrounds are like male dominated. They are playing there all the time. So there should be some specific time for us or some specific schedule in which even girls can play in these playgrounds. Availability of toilets, like public toilets, which is a big concern for girls. These are not available. And with these small issues, I think women in sports is something that we are missing out on. And the government must consider this. We can start some academies, we can start some training centers, And we should, India should initiate schemes which bring in more focus on women in sports, I feel.
The government also says that there are several schemes, for instance, Khelo India, Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat, and all these schemes are gender neutral. So what is the impact of these schemes?
Absolutely. We need to target them specifically on women, because when we talk about gender parity everywhere internationally, we are talking that in every sphere, women must become equal, they must be given equality. So why not in sports as well? And why not special focus? But when I say this, there is one more thing which must be kept in mind, because it shouldn't become such a hype that we are talking about extreme situations. There has to be a balance. In every field of life, balance is the core thing. It's the core spirit which has to be behind everything. So we talk about equality, we should consider the strengths of the women. Now, for example, women are very good managers, but we have not seen women coaches, we don't see many women on managerial posts in the field of sports as well. So why not some kind of training, some kind of education, some courses which strengthen them as managers in sports, and they come into the forefront to do that, because it has been proved time and again that women are better managers than men. So instead of waiting for them to try to prove themselves that yes, I'm capable, so I can wrestle, so I can lift weights, so I can do things. Of course, there was a phase when it was the demand of time that women had to prove themselves. They had to prove that I am as capable as a man. But now I feel the time has come when the woman has to be given roles in every sphere of life as per her capacity and strength, which applies to sports as well. So I feel, considering the strengths of women, the government should come forward and try to give women a chance in developing their strengths and in developing in the fields which they are good at.
Ma'am, any specific suggestion regarding increasing the participation of women in sports in India?
Definitely, I would like to ask the government that they should at any cost formulate special schemes for women sportswomen, and they should make sure that at least in every state there is one training academy which gives them freedom to get trained without any mental hassles. The government can even think about giving some stipend to them so that they are able to run their lives, because woman is a mother, woman is a caretaker of a family. She has to even her mind has to be that side also. So the government must come up with something like this. When this women cricket, when we talk about women cricket, earlier it was with the Women Cricket Association of India. And then when Sharad Pawar ji became the BCCI president, at that time simultaneously the ICCI also was encouraging that women should come into the International Council. And at that time in 2005, the World Cup was there, and India had made it, the women's team had made it to the final. So at that time, with the vision that Sharad Pawar ji had, and with the help and support from the ICCI, we could bring this women's cricket into the International Council. And I think that was a step forward. So in this way, leaders should have vision, the government should have vision, and make sure that they are sensitive towards gender parity, and it should be made a forefront issue so that women are balanced in every field possible.
All right, thank you so much for joining us and speaking to us.
Moving on to next question that was asked a member, Bhaskar Rao Nikanti from Ministry of Tribal Affairs. The member sought details of any programs of initiatives that has been taken for tribals in the country.
And this response has been given by MOS R.K. Singh in the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. He goes on to say that the government has adopted a multi-pronged strategy for the overall development of tribal people living across the country, including Odisha, which includes supports for skill training. The Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana 2016-20 and Jan Shikshan Sansthan scheme being implemented by the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship provides short-term training to the youths, including tribal youths, through affiliated training partners or training centers. Under this scheme, 13,209 TCs, including 350 TCs in Odisha and 723 Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendras, including 28 in Odisha, have been impaneled for imparting training. 26,000 scheduled tribe candidates have been trained, out of which 17,914 candidates have been certified and more than 4,000 candidates reported placed till 17th of January 2020. Under JSS, since 2018-19, a total number of 12,129 ST persons have been trained in Odisha till 31st of January 2021. So far as long-term skilling is concerned, 23% of seats in the industrial training institutes are reserved for ST candidates in Odisha by state government. Besides, 23% of seats are also reserved for apprenticeship training and ITI pass-out ST candidates in the state. All ST candidates whose parental income is less than 2.5 lakh per annum are exempted from the payment of admission fees. ST candidates are also reimbursed 3,000 rupees towards ITI uniforms. So far, admission of tribal students in Odisha is concerned, 3,571 tribal students have taken admission in 49 government ITIs, out of which 17,545 total admissions in 2020-21, which is 20.35% of the total admission. The Ministry of Tribal Affairs, the nodal ministry in the Government of India for overall policy, planning and coordination of programs for development of STs, provides funding support to states for vocational trainings in tribals under the Special Central Assistance to Tribal sub-scheme, and also Odisha has been given 136 crore under this scheme from 2016-17 to 2019-20. And now let's move on to the next question, and this one is to the Ministry of Railways, asked by two members, Member Satish Chandra Dubey and Member K. Ravindra Kumar, and they have inquired about details of full-fledged operation of Indian Railways.
Reply to this query is given by Minister of Railways Piyush Goyal. In the reply, the ministry says to prevent the spread of COVID-19 pandemic, Indian Railways has discontinued all regular passenger trains with effect from 23rd March 2020. Indian Railways, in accordance with guidelines issued by the government from time to time, resumed passenger trains with effect from 1st of May 2020 by operating Shramik special trains, followed by operation of Rajdhani special trains with effect from 12th of May 2020 and other special trains with effect from 1st of June 2020. The number of services have been increased in phased manner, and presently Indian Railways is operating 1,328 mails and express special trains, 206 passenger trains, 5,350 suburban trains. Additionally, 684 festival special trains are being operated. Indian Railways is keeping a close watch on prevailing situation and is increasing number of trains in phased manner. Moving on to next question that is also asked by Ministry of Railways, this time by member Vivek Thanka. The member asked about the operation of railways zone-wise.
And there's a detailed response given by the Railways Minister Piyush Goyal. He goes on to say that Indian Railways, in consultation with the state governments concerned, have operationalized approximately 5,070 passenger electric multiple unit mainline electrical multiple over Central Railway, Western Railway, Eastern Railway, South Eastern Railway, Southern Railway, East Central Railway, West Central Railway, South Western Railway and North East Frontier Railway. Further, Indian Railways is keeping a close watch on the prevailing situation. It is also in the constant touch with the state governments and in increasing trains in a phased manner. During pre-COVID-19 time, for long distance passengers, two types of train services were running over Indian Railways: regular timetable trains and special trains during festivals or peak demand period or rush period. Further, special trains were of three types. First, second class unreserved specials on normal fare. Second, special trains on special charges on normal fare plus special charges, which is 10%, in second class reserved and 30% in other classes subject to prescribed maximum and minimum limit. The Suvidha specials on minimum Tatkal fare and maximum 3 times of Tatkal fare. For both special trains on special charges and Suvidha trains, fare for second class unreserved was normal, second class Mail or Express superfast fare. In view of the health advisory due to COVID-19, regular train services are running as COVID specials on the fare as applicable for regular timetable trains. During COVID times, as passenger demands are not uniform over different sectors, some special trains on special charges have been introduced to meet the additional demands over different sectors as per already published fare for special trains on special charges. Further, unreserved second class have also been declared as reserved second class in view of the pandemic. And moving on to the next question, and this one is to the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying and asked by member Anand Sharma. And he has questioned on the spread of avian influenza in the country.
The reply to this query is given by Minister of State for Animal Husbandry and Fishing, Sanjeev Balyan. Replying in affirmative, the ministry says that avian flu among commercially reared and wild birds have been confirmed from 14 states and union territories, namely Kerala, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Himachal, Bihar, Rajasthan, Delhi and Jammu and Kashmir. The measures taken by Department of Animal Husbandry to prevent spread of bird flu include advisories issued to states and union territories for increased surveillance and biosecurity in poultry farm before onset of winter due to arrival of migratory birds during winter. Revision of extent action plan for prevention, control and containment of aviation flu. Guidelines issued to states and union territories for control and contamination and containment of bird flu as per the action plan, which include increasing surveillance around water bodies, live birds markets, zoos, poultry farms, proper disposal of carcass, strengthening of biosecurity in and around poultry farms, restricting movement of poultry from infected zones and taking preparatory measures, maintaining sufficient stocks of the PPE kit and accessories, disinfectants and other logistic required for controlled operations. Setting up of control room to monitor daily progress of preventive and control measures taken by the states and union territory. Deploying central team to visit affected states for monitoring and conducting investigations. In coordination with National Disaster Management Authority, meeting held with states and UTs, Animal Husbandry and Health Department to assess situation as well as preparedness and providing required support. Requesting states and UTs to ensure effective communication and coordination with health and forest authorities for close vigilance of disease status to avoid any chance of jumping of the disease into humans. States directed to identify the BSL-2 labs for speeding up screening of infections in the states and ensure timely introduction of control mechanism. Provision of funds made for carrying out surveillance, awareness programs, procurement of personal protective equipment as PPE, control and containment operations, compensating poultry farmers whose birds are culled or eggs are poultry feed destroyed by the states and UT. Sensitization awareness generation of poultry farmers and general public on bird flu through various social media platforms including Facebook and Twitter. As per the information gathered, Food Safety and Standard Authority of India has issued a detailed guidelines on safe handling, processing and consumption of poultry meat and eggs during the bird flu outbreak. As per the action plan, there is a provision for compensating poultry farmers for forced culling of the poultry and destruction of eggs and poultry feed. The department, under the assistance to State for Control of Animal Disease component, provides financial aid for such compensation. So that's it in this edition of Question Hour. Thanks for watching us on this platform. You can catch all the programming of Sansad TV on the online forum as well.
Take care, stay healthy and stay tuned. Goodbye.